You are an athletic director. You have an unlimited budget. You're Southern California before they hired Lincoln Riley, right? You walked in, you said, I want you, I'm paying you $10 million a year. How many coaches, especially given, and this is some recency bias, but I mean, most ADs previous to this season would have taken Kalen DeBoer over Josh Heupel. As a matter of fact, I was looking up preseason rankings of coaches, and DeBoer is number 2. Well, he's not anymore, clearly. So how many coaches, lock, stock, and barrel, would you take over Josh Heupel, given what he has done over the past week, given what he's done to build Tennessee to this program that it is now? And last look, brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. We say the best for last. Look at me, no contacts, no glasses. Caleb, I think you have to say Kirby Smart, right? Danny White would never admit it, but if Kirby Smart was available, you would go get Kirby Smart.
Would you?
Okay, all right, fine. Now, the other coaches that have won championships, Dabo Swinney and Mac Brown. Yeah. Mac, that Vince is passed, okay? He doesn't have Vince Young, and I think he's 180 years old.
I think yes.
I looked that up, and it was either 180 or 182. And then Dabo Swinney, who's having a fine season after getting beat by Georgia in the opener, has 2 championships. But I'm not taking Dabo Swinney because, yes, he's maybe having a little bit of a renaissance, but a renaissance in the ACC is like going to a strip club in Starkville.
Hey, those strippers work hard in Starkville.
They're all going to college to be nurses.
That is very, very true. So here's the funny thing about Dabo Swinney. I'm going to say this about coaching. A lot of coaching success has very little to do with what the coach does there and more to do with 3 things: the structure of the program, the resume of the coach himself, and the level of competition around him. It's kind of like one of those things, Dave, as a historian, I'm just going to throw this out there real quick. We study presidential elections, and one of the most overrated things is the idea that the type of candidate or the type of campaigning determines the election. No, just the state of the country at the time determines it, period, end of story. Governing matters, not campaigning. That's what historians always say, and that's tested back to 1860. Structure of the program matters, not necessarily the coaching. Dabo Swinney had a better narrative surrounding him in 2019. So if he got hired at Tennessee after 2019, I have no doubt that he would have done the exact same job himself that he would do now, but the narrative around Dabo Swinney would be stronger. Because here's a coach who won 2 national titles in 3 years out at Clemson and just beat Alabama twice and maybe the greatest coach of all time and could be, pushing that. That would help him recruit at a much higher level. Whereas if now he's hired at Tennessee, it looks like, or sorry, you said USC, not Tennessee, but USC. Now if he's hired at USC, it looks like here's a coach that's lost a step and the game's passed him by. That's the narrative surrounding him right now, isn't it?
Yeah, no, and the narrative, you mentioned USC. The narrative around Lincoln Riley is
that he's lost it.
Well, he's got his money and his offense has been figured out, and they were never good on defense. Last look brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. You say, I don't know about Kirby Smart. I'm going to tell you the 2 coaches that one is Kirby Smart that I would hire over Josh Heupel if I were the Dallas Cowboys. That's not a good example either because you're talking about making the pro transition. If I could handpick any coach to be the head coach at Hooker U and all contracts didn't matter and all of that stuff, last look brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. I'll tell you who the one guy is other than Kirby Smart.
The first step to better vision is to visit ccteyes.com. The information you need is easy to access, and setting an appointment is as simple as clicking the tab. Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn, and Eye Care Optical at ccteyes.com.
I would take Dan Lanning in Oregon. I would take him right now over Josh Heupel, but it's very, very close. What say you, Caleb? Because Peyton Manning wanted to weigh in, and he said,
Like, that is total bullshit.
all right. Caleb, what say you?
Here's what scares me about Dan Lanning, interestingly enough. Dan Lanning went 10-3 his first year at Oregon. Congratulations. And then he went 12-2 last year. Of his 5 losses, one of them's against Georgia. No shame in that, right? That was his first game back at his former school. 3 of them are to Kalen DeBoer at Washington. 3 of them. He lost 3 games just to Kalen DeBoer, never beat him. And by the way, Kalen DeBoer then comes around. What is Dan Lanning, Dave? But a protege of Kirby Smart. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Kalen DeBoer, what did he just do to Kirby Smart this year? Kalen DeBoer is 4-0 against the Kirby Smart Dan Lanning defense. That's kind of that's not a small sample size at that point. And so if you hire Dan Lanning and you have to play Kalen DeBoer every year, you may not beat him. And so I get your point. I'm going to tell you who I'd go with. I'm going to make Dave's head really, really explode. He's going to be so angry at me for saying this, but I'm going to go with Kirk Cignetti, the Indiana head coach. And by the way, you can definitely roll up cigars when you beat Alabama at that point. Wait. His first job ever, I kid you not, was at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Which, yes, is a school. And he went 53-17 there, won 2 conference titles, made the Division II playoff 3 times. Then he went to Elon, and he went to the Division I playoff twice, which they had never done before. Then he went to James Madison and won 3 straight CAA titles. James Madison makes the move from FCS to FBS, which is supposed to be an impossible move, and he goes 8-3 and 11-1 in back-to-back seasons there. Now he's at Indiana, and he's at 7-0 at Indiana. Kurt Cignetti is the hottest coach in football right now, by far.
Come on.
He's 7-0 in the Big Ten.
Come on. I mean, really? Come on. How many coaches have done this who surprise people at a smaller
Literally
program?
None.
Spicy take from Caleb, brought to you by Asia Cafe. I like it spicy. Treat yourself to authentic Asian cuisine, handcrafted from guarded family secrets. 5 locations to choose from. AsiaCafe.org. And they've got the Energy Booster Premix Instant White Coffee, the golden label coffee bag with the Lim family on there since 1909. Now, what about Miami's coach? Is he in the conversation?
No. And here's why. Mario Cristobal is, I see him as a Gene Chizik, and I've talked about this before. Sometimes a really bad coach can rent a really good quarterback for a year and look really, really, really good. Mike Norvell did that last year with Jordan Travis at Florida State. He started 0-3 every other year at Florida State, except last year when he got Jordan Travis. Mario Cristobal is doing the same thing with Cam Ward this year at Miami. I think that. And Gene Chizik, is the king of that. He rented Cam Newton for a year. Outside of the year he had Cam Newton, he was a trash head coach.
That's actually a very good way of putting it.
It is. I
can tell you the exact number of how much it costs if you want to know. Would you like to know?
183,000, right?
I was told it was more along the lines of 235 because the 183 was offered by Mississippi State. So I was told that it was a little bit higher.
Well, by the way, one coach I would, though, just because of my philosophy, I'm still high on it, Mike Elko. And he's close with, that's actually close, but I've told you, having Ivy League brains going up against college football coaches, that's an advantage that you've never heard of.
Now, we're having this conversation. Why? Because Jim Harbaugh is gone. Right? You would have to take Harbaugh over, although, man, he's tough to deal with, I've been told, behind the scenes. So I'm not sure.
Nick Saban is gone, too.
And Saban is gone.
And Heupel was just named Bobby Dodd Coach of the Week.
Right. And he was just named Bobby Dodd Coach of the Week. You're right. Can we agree that we may have those like Kyle Whittingham at Utah? We may have, I have Lanning in Oregon. But I'm looking at some of the names on the preseason list, and Mike Norvell was on there. Lanning was as well. Steve Sarkisian, to me, is no more special than Josh Heupel is. And as a matter of fact, they both have a black mark on their resume because Heupel was fired and Steve Sarkisian was taking body shots I don't know if they were body shots, but he's taking shots before special teams meetings on a Sunday morning. Now, what about a couple names like Lane Kiffin, Lance Leopold, Ryan Day? I guess what I want to boil this down to is ultimately we can make a strong argument, because I'm going to write a column about this, that with Saban and Harbaugh gone, that there is no question Josh Heupel is one of the blank best coaches in the nation. Is it 3, 5, 8, 10? Because he wasn't thought of by ESPN and the coaches that were polled before the season. I'm looking at a story that went back to April. So the college football reporters ranked the sport's top 10 coaches. And I'm going to give them to you now. Smart, DeBoer, Whittingham, Sweeney, Norvell, Lanning, Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin, Leopold at Kansas, Ryan Day at Ohio State. Those that received votes, okay, that didn't make the top 10. Brian Kelly, Lincoln Riley, Kirk Ferentz, Luke Fickell, Drinkwitz, Mac Brown, Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State, Jonathan Smith at Michigan State, Deion Sanders, Colorado, Kurt Cignetti at Indiana, Chris Kleeman at Kansas State, John Summerall, no relation to Pat. The bottom line is nobody thought much of anything about Josh Heupel, even headed into this season.
Yeah, I agree. It should be 5 to 7. I can drop a lot of those guys. I would
go 3 of 5. I really would, and I'm not being Homer, Dave. I think you know that.
I know. I think you have a point. I mean, look, I got him ahead of Brian Kelly now because Brian Kelly's made too many stupid decisions. But we also have to go back. Look, we trashed some of the stuff he was doing early in the year, but we can't ignore the results on the field. Deion Sanders has the best flair of any college football coach right now, and he, by the way, is leading my Coach of the Year candidacy. I mean, he's 5-2.
Okay, but would you take all the sideshow stuff? And would you
wait? Would I take the side? You're a Cowboy fan. You got 3 Super Bowls with the sideshow stuff.
Okay, but no, would you take the sideshow stuff and the uncertainty that he can't win without his son and Travis Hunter, who came with him?
I don't think the uncertainty is necessarily there as much anymore.
It's not there as much, but I would no. I don't think he's in the Josh Heupel league.
I think Deion, and this is the truth, and this is one of the few that I say this for. I think his name does recruit, and it's showing now. And I think Deion at Tennessee with that NIL money I think Deion Sanders would have Nick Saban level recruiting classes at Tennessee. I don't think he would have to coach that much because I think he would just stack up rosters. Guys, look, maybe it's unfair, maybe it's not, but the flair that he's brought to Colorado has him recruiting at a level that should be impossible at Colorado. Can you at least say that, Dave?
Can we just? That's another talk. I want to discuss Deion if he had Tennessee NIL money. What would happen?